and welcome to the first ever Logo Curious review. Now, Logo Curious is a website that I've been working on and off with passion and sometimes not for about 4 or 5 years now. And so what I really wanted to do was kind of put video reviews on the site that might encourage me to comment a bit more about things that appear. It covers logos and branding across the spectrum, but something that I really found that my focus came from was government logos, municipal logos, things like that for agencies of government, logos where taxpayers' money essentially is spent. It's an interesting area, and it's a kind of difficult balancing act for these agencies to get right. Obviously you're spending other people's money, and you're not a for-profit business or a private business or anything like that. So it's a tricky kind of tightrope to walk, and that's something that's really interested me since I've been writing for this blog, and it's something I wanted to make some videos on. So this is my first attempt. I was going to write, or talk about rather, a completely different project this week, but then something cropped up, and that is the logo for the UK Parliament. Now the UK Parliament is a wide description for mainly the Houses of Parliament down in London, which consists of lots of offices and buildings. It's large, the classic one you see across London Bridge, Big Ben's attached to it. And inside there are the two main legislative councils for the UK government, namely the House of Commons and the House of Lords. And they do lots of other things as well. You can have your wedding there, and they've got places to eat and drink and things like that. So it's a pretty big building, and it does a lot of stuff. And this week, someone, the agency in London, released their rebranding for UK Parliament, which looks a little bit like this. Now, you won't be surprised to hear that having spent money on making a logo, there's been a bit of backlash. But I think they've done a really nice job. They've simplified the design. This is their kind of most complicated version. It's really nice kind of woodcut effect. It's really kind of classic. But overall, they've kind of rationalised lots of disparate elements, all featuring this kind of portcullis, and brought them together into one kind of whole thing. Here's some of the work. Lots of what's happening with branding, you'll find, big companies, small companies, and government agencies, is trying to get their brand working consistently and coherently across lots of different devices, from laptops to phones and tablets. The demands on a logo at the moment are that it's got to work, big and small, and it's got to kind of pass across those kind of disparate areas from print to web to mobile. So there's a lot of work that the guys have done. They've kind of rebranded it into the UK Parliament rather than the Houses of Parliament. That's quite a nice little change. It says UK. It reaches out a little bit further from Britain to make you understand that this is the Parliament of the UK. It's one of those say what you see kind of things. And they tidied up the portcullis generally, and like I said, they've got this kind of nice swish-looking one, which I really like. And then they've got these kind of one-colour versions. They've applied this nice kind of purple colourway with a bit of mint as a hint. Different lockups and layouts for different devices, getting down to 32 pixels. It's really quite decent kind of representation. And you can really tell that it's a kind of consistent whole. You can see down here they've dropped, on the very small, they've kind of dropped the actual circles in the chain to just little bumps, but it still really works. Here's what they had before on the left. You're not that close to it, but you can see all the kind of different colours, different parts of it used different colours, and different parts of Parliament used different typefaces and fonts, different colourways. They laid them out differently. Whether it was House of Lords or whether it was a small kind of agency within it, they might grab the kind of portcullis which they've already got, that was kind of refreshed in the 70s, if I read right, and they'll use it however they want. And the guys at Someone have kind of rationalised that. They've put a kind of more consistent colourway in, and they've used a couple of fonts from third-party agencies to kind of make it more coherent and more straightforward. And I think they've done a really good job. You can see on this kind of side that it is less coherent and a bit messy. They've got these illustrations as well. We can see some of those. a little bit later on. Here's a setup of some of the stationery and things like that. Really like the visitor pass and things. And there you go, some of their kind of applications that they're kind of showing off. Now they spent £50,000 on this project, which is not an insignificant sum of money, especially in times where a lot of people are kind of getting squeezed, living wages and things like that aren't particularly going high. A lot of government agencies have had price freezes or minimal wage rises. Things like the NHS are struggling for money. So it does seem kind of abstract to anybody looking from the outside to why you'd spend £50,000 on doing it. But that's a bargain. It really is a bargain, I think, because of all the work that someone have done. It's not just a logo, and that's the way. That's the way the kind of media like to do it. Look, Parliament spends £50,000 on a logo, but it looks almost the same. Oh yeah, sure, it's very similar, but you weren't going to strip out the whole portcullis and put a new logo in. That would have caused complete chaos. But it is tidied up. It's a lot better. It's rationalised. It's cleaner. It's doing a better job for what it needs to do. You've got to remember the House of Parliament have a kind of commercial arm as well. They're selling venues for meetings and weddings and events and things like that. So that's all going to get wrapped into this, and they're making money off the Houses of Parliament. And of course it's a massive a tourist attraction. You can visit the UK Parliament and you can go in and see some of the places where you'll see MPs meeting and you'll see on the TV when people are being interviewed. It's a huge tourist draw, and I don't think that's been really appreciated by people. This is the iNews. That used to be the independent kind of mini newspaper, but now it's just kind of an online thing. The Times, there's a serious newspaper here in Britain. Yeah, they've gone for a spot the difference on the 50,000 logo design, and everyone's favourite. This is the Sun, the UK's most popular paper. Look like logo, big headline. It's just to kind of draw traffic in, I suppose. Have this kind of rude headline, but they don't really go into any of the detail or rationalise themselves why you might spend that kind of money. And I can understand that that's kind of a difficult sell to their readership, that it might be worthwhile spending £50,000 on a project like this. And I have to say, I really do think it's a good deal. I think when you look at some of the other projects that get money spent on other logos and the cost of them, £50,000 for one of the kind of most visible agencies in Britain, the UK Parliament, isn't a lot of money. There's a lot of risk there in the company. There's a lot of risk for someone when they're releasing this project, but they've got to get it right. Otherwise, not only will they get the kind of typical backlash, but they'll also get a quite correct backlash if they get it wrong. Of why on earth have you done that? So it's a big project, a big risk for them to take on, and at a cost of £50,000, I think they've done pretty well to come up with something that really works and actually isn't so controversial as you'd like. And of course, the newspapers have got comments in about my kid could have done it. That's a classic, or I'd have done it for less, and or I'd have changed the colour for 25,000 or whatever, and that is your kind of typical response from newspapers. I do wish that they'd, rather than looking at the kind of clickbait element of branding and spending taxpayers' money on branding, I wish they'd kind of go in a bit deeper and say why you might want to do that. The UK government have got a good track record on this recently, actually. They redesigned the .gov.uk website, and you can read some of the articles on there about that. They kind of blogged it all the way along. And it's fascinating and interesting to see how they brought in all these kind of disparate kind of agencies and government departments who were doing stuff online, from the HMRC with tax and the DVLA with car insurance and taxes and things like that, and lots of other government-wide services. And they brought it into this one website, and not only saved money because they were doing it in one place, but also made it that the user interface was so much better and people could access these services so much easier online. They're saving masses of money, and let's just hope that the UK Parliament, with this kind of brand redesign, can have a similar effect, that it makes democracy and it makes the Parliament more approachable and more accountable, and it improves the access to the people who need the access, to the general public, to the taxpayer. It improves their access to UK Parliament because they've got a better, more clear system to follow when they're looking at stuff that the UK Parliament publishes, and that's kind of where I hope it goes. The 50,000, like I said, it's a lot of money, but come on. I wrote a little while ago over here, wrote an article about Iowa, Department of Transport. Now, Iowa Department of Transport is a big department, but it's not as big as the UK government by any means. It's got a lot of vehicles that go out and they do a lot of work. Now, they spent 100,000 on rebranding their department. And bear in mind, this is what they came up with, £100,000 for this. From this, by the way, I quite like this, although it's a bit kind of, mid-century German, I guess. So they spent £100,000. Is that worth it for the Department of Transport in Iowa? I'm not sure, maybe, maybe not. It involved more than just the logo, which these things always do, but it involved the wider kind of brand and the application. So £100,000 included what they were going to do on the vehicles, and they weren't going to chuck all their letterheads and replace all their vehicles or their vehicle stickers straight away. They were going to apply them over 5 years, and that was the budget. But 100 grand, Department of Transport, Iowa. What's that? 70,000 pounds, something like that. So you wonder whether actually it's a good deal for the UK Parliament to have spent this much on it. £150,000, less than Department of Transport in Iowa. I think probably it's a good deal. And like the DOT in Iowa, they've not spent £50,000 on a logo. They've spent it on the wide kind of rebranding. They've got guidelines and they've got websites set up. They've got fonts to use. They've got systems in place. They've got illustrations. They've got mock-ups and other applications. It's not £50,000 on the logo. It's £50,000 for that whole kind of process. And designers are valuable. Getting this kind of thing right is difficult. And if it's wrong, if it doesn't increase access to the public, then it's failed. So you've got to try and get it right. And to get it right, you've got to spend a bit of money. And the logo, curious opinion by me, is that it really works. And it's good value for money. Hopefully, I look forward to seeing it as it rolls out and seeing what they do with it. So yeah, good work. Good on you, someone. Nice one. I really appreciate you listening to this. Coming to the end of my video. Any feedback you've got, I'm practicing with the camera, the quality and the light and the sound. So yeah, any positive feedback, any constructive, negative feedback, please do send it through. If it works and if people kind of watch it, I'm going to make some more. I might kind of keep the theme of government logos. We'll come back to those kind of ideas of how things are worth. But yeah, thanks for watching. I've been Kieran Harrod. I run Logo Curious, and I also run my own design freelance company at Derby.graphics. I'm going to put some links below to some of the websites I've shown on here, and the Someone project is worth looking at. Yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.